So, hey guys, welcome back to Hit Up Rugby League. Today we have another interview. Has been a while since an interview, but we finally got another NRL player, which is quite sick. Gold Coast Titans forward Jaimin Jolliffe. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing not too bad, mate. Doing all right.
It's awesome.
So what we like to do at the start of the podcast is a little quick fire segment called the set of six. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire six quick fire questions at you, and it's just whatever comes off the top of your head. So we'll get straight into it. So, what's your favorite fast food?
KFC.
Oh, can't go wrong with that. Queensland or NSW?
New South Wales all day.
I think it's an even split.
Even though we lost.
Even split between us four. You fan of six again?
My fan?
Yeah.
Are you talking the podcast or the rule change?
Oh, sorry. Are you a fan of the six again rule?
Rule? Nah.
Yeah.
Like
Fair enough.
I'm a front rower, bro.
Favorite music artist?
I don't know. Probably Drake or something at the moment.
Oh, can't go wrong with that. Bring back the Biff? Yes or no?
Yeah, bring it back, but see me involved in any fights. I'll get flogged. I wouldn't mind seeing others get in fights, but that'd be pretty funny.
And last one, who's winning the World Cup this year?
Ireland all day.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So obviously you're born in NSW rural area of Wagga Wagga. What's that area like growing up? How was it?
Country New South Wales, yeah. You guys obviously not from Australia. It's pronounced Wagga Wagga.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's not. No, it's all right. No, it's good. It's good. It's a real laid back sort of lifestyle, and growing up there, you just live and breathe footy. You don't get the chance to watch the NRL too often back in a place like Wagga. So it's always special any encounter you have with an NRL player, and kind of it makes it a bit more surreal now living up on the Gold Coast, sort of playing in the NRL. You just think back to the days back in Wagga, like it just seemed so out of reach. But it was great. Loved it back there.
Did you have any teams you supported growing up?
I'm a massive West Tigers fan growing up. I followed them for years and years, and it was very difficult. But they won the premiership in 2005, and I remember that clear as day. And I love the Tigers. Like I had all the gear, and just when I was a young fella, I was probably about 12 or 13. I got to go to a game at Leichhardt Oval and go into the sheds and meet the players after. And I just remember being so starstruck, I couldn't even say a word. I just stood in the corner. So,
yeah.
One of the they enjoyed watching at the start of every season was the city versus country. Do you want them to bring that back? And would you represent country?
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I used to watch those games all the time. They used to take those games out to the country as well. So, yeah, if they brought that in, that'd be awesome. I'd love to get a chance to pull on a country jersey. It's, No, I played country New South Wales when I was 18 years old, and we had the jerseys and that. And, yeah, if they did that at the NRL level, that'd be pretty special.
Yeah. So obviously, like everyone, you go to high school. Did you play league, union? Did you play both sports? Did you play any other sports while at high school?
Yeah, so when I was probably early high school, I played. To be honest, I played Aussie rules, bit of rugby union. But obviously, as I got a bit older, I just think my love for rugby league just sort of got bigger and bigger, and the other sports dropped off, and then probably year 10, 11, 12, that's where sort of rugby league was just the focus. So, couldn't see myself playing any other sport.
Most definitely. And so you were able to represent NSW country under 18s. How was that?
Yeah, that was good. It was probably that was my opportunity to make it through to an NRL team when I was 18. So obviously made my way to that side, and I actually got signed from there to go to the Cronulla Sharks under-20s. So, it was it was a step in the road, I guess, and it was probably the next step forward for me. And it gave me my opportunity to join an NRL team and play in the Holden Cup. And then obviously I just moved on from there. I played New South Wales Cup and then on to the NRL.
Mm. And how was that feeling, like stepping out onto your first time at a semi-professional level?
Yeah, I remember that my very first. So that under-20s competition, they don't run it anymore. So my very first game, I remember we stepped out onto. It's probably the first time I played on a decent stadium down at GIO. So I thought back then 20s was like, that was the big thing. But then, I remember playing that game, and then we hung around afterwards and watched the NRL, and you just saw the intensity. And then when the crowd turned up, that's when it was like, oh shit, I want to get to that level. 20s isn't enough. So yeah, it was pretty special.
Yeah, obviously you just mentioned that you're in the Holden Cup. How was that experience? And obviously they've taken it away as well as the country versus city game. Would you like to see that back?
Yeah, I thought the 20s. I thought it was good experience for kids, but I think they got rid of it for good reason. I think a lot of kids were making it to that stage and then sort of dropping off after that. So I think they maybe put a bit more focus on the reserve grade competitions as opposed to the under-20s. But yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was great. And when you're a young 20-year-old and you're traveling everywhere playing before NRL, you just think you're the man. So yeah. Look, I don't know. I think there's talks about a national-wide reserve grade competition, which should obviously be good for NRL fans. But obviously those smaller clubs like your Burleigh Bears and that operate in the Q Cup would probably suffer. So look, whether they bring it back or not, I'm not too sure. But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's one of those things people go on, like players say Holden Cup was sort of not easy, but there was little kids, and then you go to reserve grade and you're playing against men. Did you find that early on, that the difference between those two grades?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the biggest difference. You go from just like you said, playing against kids to men, and it's a lot different. And I was lucky enough. It was 2016. I was still in the under-20s, but Cronulla's feeder club, Newtown, had a few players go down, and during that Origin period, there was a few players go up into the NRL. So I got a crack early on, and that was probably the one big difference, was just the physical level of it. I thought under-20s was probably a bit quicker, obviously a lot more points in that, but yeah, just physically New South Wales Cup was a lot tougher. So I think that's why a lot of kids struggle coming out of under-20s. They want to be able to make that next step, but it's just probably too physical.
Yeah, most definitely. Now moving along, you ended up playing 3 years in the Canterbury Cup for the Newtown Jets, and you actually won the Premiership in 2019. How was that feeling with those group of boys?
Yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed my time at Newtown, and it was good to top it off with that grand final, because the year before, 2018, we'd actually made the grand final against the Bulldogs, and we lost that game in a pretty bad way when our winger was carrying the ball and he had it stripped off him. So, it was good to bounce back and win a grand final with them, and it was a good group of boys as well. A lot of those players now are in the Cronulla Sharks first grade team, like Will Kennedy, Blake Brayley, Ronaldo Mulatalo, the likes of those guys. So we had a really strong team, and they're a great club as well, Newtown. They're the oldest club in NRL history, and there's a lot of proud Newtown supporters in that area. So it was good to get it done for them.
Yeah, for sure. Was that final the one where Will Kennedy got the ball kicked through for him and scored pretty much on the hooter? Yeah,
2 weeks in a row. Billy Magoulias,
Yeah.
same thing, just slapped it on the boot, and we just come up with tries both times. So yeah, honestly, like you wouldn't read about it. It was ridiculous how we won them both, but yeah, we'll take a win.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you're in the Titans first grade now. You've got a big game this week against the Manly Sea Eagles. What do you think of their team, and how do you think your boys will go?
Yeah, they're a good team. Obviously missing Tommy is a big loss for them, but I think they might have a few players back this week. They've just got, threats all around the park. They've got good back rowers. Jake at 13, he's a great player. Cherry Evans, he's just such a smart half as well. He knows how to control games. So, yeah, it'll be a tough one this weekend. But we're confident. We thought we'd put up a bit more of a fight against Melbourne. Just probably lacked polish. I think that's probably what we've lacked all year. So, if we can just go out there and be competitive and maybe get on top of Cherry Evans and just shut down his kicking game a bit more, we could go all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I rate your guys' forward pack a lot. Obviously, you got the big names like Fafita and Tino. What do they like to play behind? That they're just these, even in training, they're these massive guys that are quick and just have it all. What are they like?
Yeah, they're really good. Obviously, Dave's such a powerful ball runner. So is Tino. And when you train against, especially someone like Tino, when you train against them, it's just all or nothing. So, I'll use an example. We've got these wrestling mats at our facility there, and we're doing a bit of tackle tech in there, and we're just sort of running at each other. And you leave that feeling like you played a game of footy, because Tino, when he runs, just puts his big elbows through his sternum, and you just, just always feeling worse for you after. So they're very big and physical players. They train the same way.
So is there a certain player that you don't like running against in your team?
No, not that I don't like running. No, there's no one really in my team. Obviously, in the NRL, there's players you avoid. Blokes like Big Nelson at Melbourne and probably Jake Trbojevic at Manly. You just don't run straight at them. You got to maybe go at them and step away a bit late. But if you commit to them early and they know you're running straight at them, they're just going to fold you in half. So there's a couple of blokes like that in the NRL. You just got to be careful of.
Most definitely.
I have a 2-part question. They're both like multiple choice. So the first one is, you got to tackle one of these guys off the back fence: Sam Burgess, Sonny Bill, and Greg Eastwood.
Are we talking Greg Eastwood in his prime or
Prime? Full
prime?
So like,
Prime Greg Eastwood. No, I'd have a crack at Sam Burgess, I reckon, if he was running. So he's obviously a big fella, but I don't know, it'd be pretty cool if you're able to say you give it a go.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's a start, bench, cut. So you start one, bench one, cut one. We got 2021 Tom Trbojevic, 2012 Ben Barber, and 2009 Jared Hayne.
I'd probably start Tommy Trbojevic. I'm going to bench. I'll go ahead and bench. That's a tough one, eh? Just trying to think back. Oh, no, yeah. You know what? You'd have to bench Hayne and drop Barber, because I think 09 Jared Hayne, he was probably, on par with Tom, or if not even better, eh? He was a freak that year.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Talking about the bench, like quite a lot of people have to. Obviously, there's 4 people in each team. They have to be on the bench, and you've most of your career have been on the bench. I was wondering what that's like compared to coming off the bench and having to provide an impact for the team.
Yeah, it's different. Obviously, look, I don't mind coming off the bench. I'm used to it now, and you just kind of, it's difficult. Obviously, when momentum's against your team, it's hard to get on by yourself and make a change. I think when you do come off the bench, if you're able to get on the field with a couple of fresh players off the interchange as well, it makes it a bit easier. The one thing I don't like about the bench is you go out on the field, you do your warm up, the crowd's coming in, you get all pumped up to go, and then you jog out and sit down for 20 minutes. So yeah, that's you kind of all built up. You got all this adrenaline, you're ready to go, and then you have to sit down for a while. So that takes a bit of getting used to. But yeah, you just obviously when you get on the field, you have to provide that spark and sort of lift up the tempo in defence, and try and take everyone with you as well. Especially probably the last few weeks, we've sort of been conceding points early and then chasing leads. So yeah, last few weeks has been tough.
Most definitely. Yeah, so especially on being on the bench as a prop, it must be quite hard to score some tries as you're not on as much as you like to be. But you did end up scoring one last year and this year. And I was just wondering, do they still do the nudie run for the guys that don't score the try?
Yeah, we still do the nudie run. I think this year, obviously, we know we're not playing finals, and there's actually a few good players still in the nudie. We've got Mo Fodawaker and Isaac Liu and a couple of outside backs. So there'll be a few on the list to do the run. And yeah, honestly, if I was still in the nudie, I wouldn't be pushing it. But now that I'm off it, I'm going to be leading it. I'm going, boys, come on, let's go, get it going.
Most
You
definitely.
just the thing about that is, but you got to do it where there's no cameras and no one's looking, because obviously everyone's got a camera, and if an NRL player got busted running down the street, Starkers, they probably wouldn't have a contract. So
yeah, just imagine
right
walking
place,
to the
right time.
yeah, just walk. Shit, mum, there's Mo Fodawaker, and you like look over another glance, and he's just streaking down the street. Like,
Yeah, no, it's got to be behind closed doors. So. Not like the old days.
Alex Twiles had to have had a few, wouldn't he, from the Tigers? How many games he had?
Yeah, poor fella. Yeah, he's in the hundreds now. I think he hasn't crossed over. So there's a couple of guys. Big Blake Laurie got over for the first. He was coming up to 100 games, and he finally got over. There's even some really good players like Paddy Carrigan. He's 50-something odd games, and he hasn't crossed over yet. So surprising.
Yeah. So one thing that is part of the game is criticism, and it tends to be the coaches that get a lot of criticism. I was just wondering what Justin Holbrook was like as a coach, because obviously we see most of the negatives, but what was he actually like?
Yeah, he's a great coach. Obviously, it's been tough for him this year. The team hasn't performed, and like you said, a lot of criticisms come back on him. But he's a good guy. He's a real positive, upbeat sort of character, and he sort of remains positive around the playing group. He hasn't let it bring us down, and he doesn't carry any baggage from the previous week. So we go into each week, with a good mindset, confident that we can go out there and get the job done. So no, he's good. He's got a good relationship with his players as well. So there's always been talk about him and his job next year in that. But I think the club, obviously, they've got his support. We've got some good players coming next year. So I think he's the coach to take us, into the finals and to contest a premiership in the future for sure.
Yeah. Personally, I'm studying sports psychology at university, and I found it really interesting, especially in the NRL. And I was just wondering, do you have like any techniques, especially that you use, like especially if you're on a couple game like losing streak, that you use to help like get that good mindset as you were talking about into the next week? Or
for me personally, not really. A lot of people have all these little mental strategies they use to get themselves up for games, but I take a lot of confidence out of our training week. So if I feel like we've had a few good training sessions, and once a week we do a big opposed day against our reserve grade, I take confidence out of knowing if we're executing our shape and we're physical in defence, that's where I get my confidence. Whereas if I feel like we've had a pretty lazy week and it's been very relaxed, then I start to question whether we're going to be ready to go out there. So, yeah. But honestly, each week, there probably hasn't been any time this year where I've thought we couldn't go out there and be competitive and get a win. Obviously, results haven't gone that way, but yeah, each week I've felt like, and I've been confident that we can go out there and get a win. So, just hasn't been the case.
Yeah, for sure. That's very interesting. So just kind of, it's not the same, but it's kind of on that. Do you have any pre-game superstitions? I know that there's some weird ones, like people putting their left socks on before their right, or right shoe before their left. Like, do you have any weird superstitions?
No, I don't have anything really. I've got a routine, so we get in the sheds 2 hours before a game. Like I pretty much, I don't know if it's superstition now, but I just have a routine of what I do. So I'll get in there, I'll do a foam roll and a stretch on my lower body, then I'll get my ankles strapped, and then I'll start working on my upper body. I'll use a trigger ball, my shoulder back, use a trigger gun, do some rotator cuff exercises, then get my shoulder strapped. And so I've got a process I like to stick to, and I don't like to change it. But no real superstitions. Like same old pasta before every game. But I know some boys, they do some weird shit. Like I've seen Aaron Booth shoving Vicks down the back of his throat. I'm pretty sure that stuff's not good for you. Like, I don't know if that's superstition or yeah, people. I do know people in the NRL, they do some weird shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why. Doesn't make a difference, but anyway.
So the last round of this year's for this season, you guys are actually coming to New Zealand. So we'll be there. Connor and Liam will be there. I won't be. Have you been to New Zealand before, and you're looking forward to going to a new country to play league?
Yeah, I've been to New Zealand several times. Played at Mount Smart, probably across me under-20s and New South Wales Cup. I reckon I've been over there a good 5-6 times. So no, it'll be good. Looking forward to it. Obviously, there'll be a good crowd there, and I think everyone over in New Zealand, it's been tough. Not having any of the footy over there, and it's been tough for the players as well. So I'd like to see the NRL do a bit more for the New Zealand Warriors. Obviously, you get half a home games, half away games. But I reckon, like for me personally, I think New Zealand should have all home games next year for obviously making those sacrifices, and even the fans as well. I think they deserve to have a lot more footy over there. But no, it's a good ground. It's always a good crowd and good atmosphere. So. Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, just touching on that. So you made your debut in 2020, and you were able to play a couple games before that COVID break hit, and that must have been real tough on everyone. How was that transitioning through that COVID period?
Yeah, that was a weird one. I think we played Parramatta, and then during the week we more or less just got told, boys, we're not training for like 6 weeks or something like that. So, I ended up going back home for a bit, just took some weights with me. And I don't know, it was a real funny period where it was like, no one knew if the competition would get back up and running. And like I was just happy I got to play a few first grade games. But then I kind of thought, if the competition doesn't go ahead this year, does that mean my NRL debut counts? Or I was a bit worried then. But yeah, no, I can't remember. I just remember, I think everyone was just like, fuck, what the hell's going on? Like, never seen anything like it before. So, and then obviously when the competition did get back going, there were no crowds and we were charter flights. So, yeah, for a while there, it kind of took away the whole experience of being an NRL player.
Must have felt no crowd there. Like, that must have been a weird playing, like, feeling sensation, just running out and just no one there, just the players and referees.
Yeah, it was weird. Obviously you'd run out and warm up, and there was just no atmosphere. So it kind of, in a way, you didn't really feel much pressure. So you probably weren't as nervous. And then I came off the bench. I actually started most of 2020, but with a few games there, when you come off the bench and there's no crowd, it feels like you're watching a training session or like an opposed session. You're just sitting there going, just weird, eh? But honestly, when you're on the field, the crowd, you just completely forget there's a crowd there. Like, even now, you got to have 50,000 at Suncorp. When you're on the field playing footy, all that just kind of blocks out. So when we were playing footy, it was fine. But if you were sitting there on the bench or something, it felt weird.
Yeah, as mentioned before, you're coming to Mount Smart in round 25, and it's the last game of the season. Might be a long shot, but what's the odds on me getting your jersey or boots?
I I'll be able to do the boots. I don't know about the jersey, because the club obviously they use those things to give to members and stuff like that. But if I catch you after the game, you can have me boots. Honestly, every time I run out stadium, wherever you go, you get about 100 kids just going, "Oh, give me your boots, give me your boots." Mate, I don't have an endless supply. But that's the last game, so I'll catch you there. Yeah, you can have me boots for sure.
Wow.
Sweet. Easy. I'm a bit of a scare when it comes to that, bro. So
Yeah. It's all good.
Just going back to like the very start of the Titans, you actually went on a trade and trial deal, which is like pre-season, obviously, and you have to work your way. Was that just the mentality and the mindset you had to train to get like people say that's just, you're pretty much playing for a job. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I'd actually done a few training trials before, so I did a couple at Cronulla, and I knew what it sort of, I knew what I had to do, but it's frustrating because you're just kind of at the bottom of the pecking order there. So when you're at training and that, if there's anything happening, you're always going last, or you kind of have to earn the trust of the coaches and the players as well. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough mentally, and obviously towards the back end of your preseason, you're sort of counting down the days, and you feel like you're just waiting for that news, like, yep, we're going to keep you around, but it sort of doesn't come. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure on players, I think. It's that training trial, especially like for young kids. Obviously, there's time, but I was getting a bit older, and I'd sort of been in reserve grade a while, and I'd done a few training trials. So towards the back end of it, I was starting to feel the pressure, and for me, it more or less come down to a trial game against Broncos, and I was fortunate enough. A few players went down with injuries, and I played well in that trial game, so that was my sort of foot in the door.
Yeah. So just going back again. So in 2020, you were able to play in the NRL nines. How's that experience compared to like a normal 80-minute footy game?
Nines is funny. I compare it to a game of touch footy. You get out there, you make 2 or 3 tackles, take one hit up, and then you throw your hand up for an interchange, and you just kind of run off the field. So no, that was good fun, the nines, and we actually went really well that year.
Yeah.
And then I remember a funny story, because I actually thought I was going to lose my contract or any chance of getting a contract, because we played the nines, and the club said, "All right, boys, we've got a flight early in the morning. You can go out and have a beer. Just don't be late for the bus." And me pretty confident, I'd done all right, went out and had a few beers, and next thing you know, I didn't set an alarm, didn't have my bags packed, and the team manager comes storming in my room at 6 a.m, and he was just spraying me, going, "You're effing missing the bus. What are you doing?" And he starts grabbing all my shit, throwing it in my bag and that, and I was just... After that, I sat on the bus back to the airport, just thinking I've just cost myself any chance of getting a contract here. And I just that much head noise after that. So it was a good experience playing, but it wasn't a good experience afterwards. I'll tell you that much.
That is too good, eh? That is too good. So back in 2021, you guys actually made the finals, and unfortunately lost to the Roosters in a thriller. That 80th minute, like the pass, what was the thoughts?
It was just, we made the break and got down there. Obviously, it was heartbreaking. For a lot of reasons. They'd beaten us in the season. What's his name? Sam Walker got a field goal. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of hurts thinking about it, because it'd be nice to be back playing finals, but we're not doing it this year. But it would have been nice to go a couple of weeks deeper. I think for the fans and that as well. Gold Coast, over the years hasn't been a very successful club. So, we made the finals, and we were hoping to push a bit further, and it just felt like it got cut short.
Yeah. you say you're not going to be in finals this year. There's a chance maybe if you play for Ireland and you guys go deep in the World Cup, is that something that you've got like your mind set towards, or how's that working with the World Cup this year?
Yeah. Obviously, I've spoken with the coach for the Irish team. We've got a pretty strong team going over. A good handful of NRL players. Myself, Luke Keary's going over. And then the majority of the team are Super League players, so if not all of them. So they're all playing a high level of football. I think we'll be competitive. But we've worked out, we've got Jamaica, Lebanon, New Zealand in our pool. And if we make it through there, obviously the biggest hurdle will be New Zealand. But I think if we come second in our pool, we cross over and play Australia. So it's going to be tough, but from all conversations with the boys over there, it's they're confident that we've got a strong enough team to be really competitive. So I'm obviously yet to meet any of the players in that, but when we get over there, I'm just keen to see, the level of intensity those Super League players bring.
Yeah, most definitely. Just one thing I wanted to bring up. Social media is a big part of the game. And especially players get a lot of hate from the fans, or sometimes a lot of love. But how do you deal with that? Do you use social media much, or?
I use social media. Obviously, people aren't too interested in the opinions of a bench front rower, so I don't get too much traction with the old social media compared to some of the other boys. But I think that's it. Obviously, you need to build your own brand, but I kind of fly under the radar as well. So not too many people know about me. I'm just kind of a quiet worker, and my name doesn't get pulled up too much for anything. So I'd like to be known for the good stuff. But I don't think my name's ever been dragged through the mud. To be honest, I don't even think the commentators know how to pronounce my name right. So I just not too bad. Try working on the social media, but I'd like to grow it up a bit more. But it just seems fans aren't too interested in bench front rowers. So that's just life, I guess.
Do you enjoy flying under the radar a bit more, or would you like to be a bit more known, and then just have interviews all the time? And
I do a lot of stuff with the Titans, like speaking to media and that. Look, it's got its positives and its negatives, I guess. When you're in the, and I'll use someone like Dave Fafita as an example. He probably had one of his best years last year. He was the most destructive ball running back row in the comp by far. But everyone knew what he was earning, and everyone knew, all the ins and outs of his contract and that. So, he just copped it. If he had one bad game, he was just in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. And I think that can be tough mentally, especially for a young fella like Dave, or even someone like Tino, just young. And when their name gets sort of dragged through the mud, they're just the easiest target, I think. Obviously there's some good things with the presence, but it has its negatives as well.
Yeah, I saw a podcast that had your teammates Jared Wallace and Jaden Campbell on it, and they were talking about DMs that they have received, and they were talking about the slurs that they got about the people messaging them like, "Why did you not score tonight? I had you anytime try score on the TAB." And stuff. Have you ever had any?
Yeah. Have I? No, I've never had any messages like that. But I do know of players getting, they get a lot of hate, threatening messages as well. Ash Taylor used to get threatening messages all the time. So, I think that sort of stuff's not acceptable. But yeah, like I said, no one really knows who I am. So I fly under the radar. If I have a bad game, no one really says my name. So it's like, oh yeah, it's not too bad then.
One
Get away with it.
Before we wrap it up, we like to ask people about where they live and stuff, like location. Obviously, you've got one of the best locations in the world of the Gold Coast. What's that like in summer and stuff like that to be in the Gold Coast?
Yeah, Goldie. I don't know if you guys ever been here, but it's pretty much just perfect all year round. I mean, in winter, I was walking around today. It was 22 degrees, sunny, just perfect. I was playing golf, and everywhere you go on the Gold Coast is a beach, and yeah, it's still a pretty quiet place as well. So, in terms of living anywhere in Australia, I don't think it gets much better than the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think Wellington 3 degrees today, and Wellington, New Zealand 3 degrees is a lot better, to be honest. But no, I like to imagine
mate,
places.
Well, where I grew up in Wagga, as a kid in winter, it'd get down like -5 degrees. So, mate, anywhere was better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much all the time we've got for today. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. It's been an awesome pleasure, and love talking to you about footy and everything else. Yeah, just thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, guys. No worries.
Cheers. Thank you. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.